We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Monday, October 21st here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Cheska Dainhong.
Happy Monday, everyone!
Happy Monday!
It's Monday!
Monday! And Yoon Seo.
Oh, it's great to be back.
Great to have you back.
Long time no see.
Long time no see. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So, it's Monday here on News Gen, and that means we're going to talk about some of the latest topics trending among the younger generation here in Korea. So, today we're going to talk about one of the top concerns among our generation, which is employment, and specifically long-term employment. That's because it seems like a growing number of people our age are finding themselves in this situation. So starting off our discussion today, Cheska, how do we actually define the state of long-term unemployment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the sake of today's episode, the survey that we're going to use has defined long-term unemployment as those who have not successfully found employment for over 6 months. And according to a recent survey conducted by Statistics Korea, around 60% of those were in their 20s and 30s. So let's take a look at the screen to see a more detailed breakdown of these figures. Now, according to the survey, about 32% fell under the age of 15 to 29, and about 23% were those in their 30s. Now, this means almost 1/3 of the unemployment group belongs to those under 29 and 30,
Right.
which means these are the young people who are just coming out of society trying to seek work. And according to more sources from Statistics Korea, more young individuals are actually giving up on even looking for employment, and this number has been constantly growing, currently reaching up to about 460,000 by August of this year. And actually this, when they surveyed the unemployed for over 3 years and asked what they did during those times, almost 1/3 of them actually answered not really much, and they just spent their spent their time at home not doing much at all.
Right, so you gave us the definition of long-term unemployment, but previously on News Gen, we talked about need tribes, those who don't have or not in employment, education, or job training. So it's kind of different in the sense that those who are in long-term unemployment, they have the will to work, but they cannot find a job. But those in the need tribe, they kind of have, at the moment do not have the will to find a job, right?
They have voluntarily taken a break, either maybe to switch careers or for a variety of reasons at the moment.
Right. So today we're going to once again focus on long-term unemployment. Now, Seong, Cheska gave us a stat about the proportion that young people are making in those who are in the state of long-term unemployment. But when we look at the general workforce here in Korea, how much are we actually seeing an increase in those who are in this state?
Actually, yes. While the unemployment rate has dropped to 2.1%, the percentage of long-term unemployed among young job seekers has skyrocketed to over 20%. And this marks the highest level we've seen in 25 years, dating back to the aftermath of Asian financial crisis. And what's even more concerning is that the significant portion of this figure is attributed to the youth long-term unemployment. And although Cheska already mentioned this, but I want to highlight it one more time, that 3 out of 5 job seekers who have been unemployed for more than 6 months belong to those in their 20s and 30s.
Right. So this is definitely becoming a bigger concern among our generation because, first of all, the number of those in long-term unemployment, it has hit a record high in 2 decades. And also more than half of them are made up of young people. Then, Jessica, I want to ask you, why do you think young people are represented so much in this stat?
Yeah, usually when it comes to social phenomena such as this, there are obviously multiple factors in play.
Right.
However, one of the factors proposed by the expert is the so-called dichotomy between expectation and reality when it comes to job seeking. So to explain a little bit more, when they looked into the reasons that long-term unemployed left their previous workplace, about 25% answered, quote, unsatisfied with current hours and wage. And this was actually the top reason. And on top of that, as Haeyoung will explain a little bit more in detail about the big corporation, they are now recruiting more experienced workers rather than interns or first-timers. So if you remember, using this, we discussed in the previous survey that almost 1/3 of them were under 30, right?
Right.
And these people have little to no experience and just coming out of society to seek jobs, and therefore would have really difficult time procuring or securing positions at large corporations that are seeking to hire experienced workers. Because these people are actually going into the workplace to gain that experience, right? Yeah.
But they don't have the opportunity to gain that experience because these corporations are now looking for skilled, experienced workers.
Yep.
Right. So Seong, could you give us more details or some of the more reasons why we're seeing a lot of young people in the state of long-term unemployment?
Yes, here's another reason. Recently, there has been a notable increase in semiconductor exports, which is being seen as a sign of domestic recovery. However, the semiconductor industry doesn't create as many jobs compared to other sectors. In other words, the recovery of this sector, this industry, doesn't necessarily translate into a significant number of quality job opportunities. And also adding to this challenge is the shrinking hiring scale among large corporations, which are increasingly preferred by the younger job seekers. Indeed, out of 103 companies, major companies, only 35% have confirmed their hiring plans for the second half of this year, a sharp decrease from 78.8% from last year. And this trend is one of the key factors contributing to the decrease in quality job opportunities, especially for the young people.
Right. So definitely we're seeing less job opportunities or the number of jobs that young people can actually enter or apply for. Now, I also want to ask our panelists, based on your experience, you guys are part of the younger generation.
Yes.
From what you've seen, are you actually seeing a lot of your peers, for example, your friends, struggling with long-term unemployment?
Yeah, I actually thought about this question when I was doing some research, but around my peer groups, not so much. But I actually do have a lot of friends who work in corporations that have willingly taken a break, the so-called like gap time, to either switch careers or find a new position at a different place. So I have someone who has taken a couple of months and just to interview because she hasn't quite found the job that she wanted. So she is actually taking her time. But when I was working with the orphanage, I did hear a lot of like heartbreaking news about some young adults either having difficulty finding a job or even maintaining employment because they don't have the supportive family or a group of friends who can encourage them to keep going at difficult times. So I really want to point out that there are some socio-economic factors that really plays into which group gets more heavily affected when it comes to long-term unemployment, because it also has to do with financial issues as well.
Right, definitely. A lot of issues are included in the reason why we're seeing a growing number of people.
And why it would be a concern for the youth as well.
Right. Now, what about you, Seong? Are you also witnessing this state more?
Well, in my circle, I don't see many people who are completely out of work or have given up on job hunting. But I do notice a lot of my friends frequently switch their jobs these days. And there are various reasons for this, like failing to adapt to the workplace culture or frequent overtime or even difficulties in relationship. But with these different reasons, many of them end up leaving their positions within a year. There's often a gap before they move on to their next role. And which means they can't help but pause their academic activities during that time. And moreover, if you browse through online communities, you will often come across posts from individuals whose gap from the work has stretched on for too long, and they express feelings of diminished confidence or motivation to engage in social activities as well. And it's really concerning.
Right, because if you're searching for a new job and you unexpectedly haven't found that job for quite a long time, then that obviously puts you into the state of long-term unemployment. So until now, we've looked into the situation here in Korea, but to expand our discussion, we also asked our viewers if they're noticing similar trends in their country. And let's take a look at what 3 of them said. Eddie Lee 5909 says, roughly half of my university graduate friends are working part-time, doing contract work, or cannot find work at all in the US. It's so serious that most people I know had to fake experience on their resume to get any interviews. Hamayu 2007 says, yes, in Afghanistan, many young people face a lot of unemployment issues after graduation. I think in Afghanistan, it's the biggest problem right now. Toby Odie says, too many negatives for workers right now, especially with younger, inexperienced workers. Even entry-level jobs want 5 years of experience with a very specific set of required skills. So from our comments, we can see that this has definitely become a global concern among the global young generation. Now, we've taken a look at through our comments the situation in the United States and also in Afghanistan. But I would also like to ask you guys, what's the situation like in other parts of the world?
Yeah, just to move, before we move on, I was quite surprised at the reviews from our viewers and how so many different parts of the world
Right.
are actually being affected by this now. And there's one comment about how when you're entry level, they ask you for 5 years of experience.
That is not entry level, that we know.
As we talked about, when 1/3 of them are, being long-term unemployed, it's impossible to gain that kind of experience
Right.
to find that kind of position, right? So when I was doing this topic, I did a little bit of research to see some of the cases that actually worked and some of the global trend. And according to Statista, so this is in June 2024. Spain and Sweden now have the highest unemployment, and Germany has the lowest of the EU. And just to give you the ballpark of numbers, the Sweden and Spain is about 23 to 24, and Germany is around 6 to 7.
That's quite a big difference.
It's a huge difference. So I was really curious, and I did my own research. And according to IAB Forum magazine, there were actually several factors that played to lead such successful transition of youth from school to employment. And one of them was called the Youth Employment Advisory Services. And it actually provides support for people to transition to employment from school. Now, in addition, there is the so-called this system of dual vocational training. And this apparently combines on-the-job training in the firms with the part-time education in a vocational school. So they actually get experiences from both internally and externally. So when they go out to seek workplaces, they're already pretty much very set in stone.
Yeah, these seem like very effective ideas. Maybe
Very
we can learn from them.
Yeah, very effective, very practical, and very German, I would say. Very systematic and organized. I love it, yeah.
Right. Are there any other countries or examples that you'd like to share, Seong?
Yes, France, which once struggled with the long-term unemployment issue, has conducted various experiments at the national level to tackle this issue. And a great example is the TZCLD project, a short for Territories with Zero Long-Term Unemployment in French. And this project focuses not on hiring workers for existing jobs, but on creating jobs, companies that align with the specific characteristics for a specific region, thereby generating job opportunities for the people who are living in that area. And this initiative operates under government support, of course, and is rooted in a fundamental shift in thinking. Long-term unemployment is not an individual failing, but a responsibility of the state. And in fact, through this project, thousands of people have found jobs, and it also solved many different issues existing in local area, and also boosted the local economy as well.
I mean, it's great that we're seeing some effective solutions to actually tackle this issue. So until right now, we've taken a look at the severity of the situation that is long-term unemployment among the younger generation. We've taken a look at the situation around the world and some solutions. Now, for more on this topic, we're now going to invite an expert to our talks after a short break.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
So our interview today, we're joined by Jin Young, Associate Professor of Economics at Seogang University in Seoul. Welcome back to the show, Professor.
Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for joining us once again. So our first question for you, Professor, is from your perspective, why do you think people in their 20s and 30s make up such a large portion of those in long-term unemployment? Is this something we're seeing only in Korea, or is it a trend in other countries as well?
I think it is a common phenomenon found in the other countries as well, but the situation more severe is in Korea. For example, compared to Japan, which is a neighboring country, the employment rate among the youth is a lot lower. I agree with you guys in that the long-term unemployment among the youth stem from job mismatch. According to a recent survey regarding the reason for leaving previous job among long-term unemployed individual, the most common reason was dissatisfaction with working conditions such as hours and wages, which is about 25% of respondents. So the main cause of job mismatch is identified as the lack of high quality jobs. Like, as you talked about the semiconductor industry, which is kind of not very effective at creating jobs. On the other hand, since the pandemic, the platform industry has grown very rapidly, leading to a significant increase in simple jobs such as delivery riders.
Professor, what do you foresee as some of the challenges or consequences that could arise if this phenomenon becomes a long-term phenomenon?
Unstable youth unemployment is identified as one of the causes of sluggish domestic demand by limiting consumption. According to a recent analysis of big data from Statistics Korea, the amount of credit card uses among those in their 20s or younger has been declining year on year since March last year. So the rise in long-term unemployment could also lead to a decline in the dynamism of the Korean economy, as the likelihood of finding a job decreases the longer the job search lasts. A 2021 study by the Bank of Korea found that an additional months of unemployment reduces the probability of employment by 1.5 percentage points.
Well, it's very concerning. Well, Professor Ho, then from your perspective, what are some practical ways that we can address this issue?
It's kind of hard. So every previous administration have announced youth unemployment measures multiple times, but there has been no change, and the situation continues to worsen. Our society bears significant responsibility for failing to provide young people with jobs that allow them to plan their future. But we have to be aware that not everyone can secure a top 10% job. However, it is crucial to improve the condition of lower tier jobs so that more people can access good quality employment and jobs that allow for future planning. So my hunch is we need to use unemployment and income support measures that respect such diversity and ensure that young people can enjoy a wide range of life opportunities.
Hope we can see some noteworthy visible changes in the near future. All right, Professor Ho, thank you always for your insights. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so ending off, once again, as part of the younger generation, and Professor Ho kind of mentioned that there hasn't been quite an advancement or a visible change when it comes to addressing or reducing long-term youth unemployment. So I think that this is a great time for us to roll up our sleeves because we know best what our generation wants.
Yes, I like that. Roll up our sleeves and actually get ready to work, right?
So I kind of want to ask your opinion on what do you think are some of the effective or practical ways to address long-term youth unemployment?
Well, one of the most heartbreaking posts I've seen in online communities highlighted how many long-term youth unemployed spend most of their times in their rooms alone, gradually losing their confidence or to engage with society. And it's crucial that we implement various projects aiming at encouraging these individuals to come out and participate in the community, because each person possesses different skills and talents, and it's a tremendous loss both personally and socially if young people confine themselves to their rooms for extended periods, right? So we really need to find ways to bring them to the surface and help them realize their potential.
Right, because as you mentioned, if the state of long-term unemployment gets longer, then it might lead to them even losing their will to actually come back to the workforce. So it's really important to not keep them discouraged and keep encouraging them to try out more and find the job that they really want. Now, what are your thoughts on this, Cheska?
Yeah, I love what Taeyong mentioned. And of course, you are more than welcome to take a break when you need to, because I know a lot of people get burnt out. Mental health is just as important as your career. But long-term unemployment also can take a huge toll on both the physical and mental health of young individuals, which can have a ripple effect on many other aspects of society, as Professor mentioned also. You know, possibly having extensive and free counseling for those who are currently in an unemployed state, so they can really talk through it and get out of that mental state of being stuck in something. And also, I would like to highlight that, you know, depending on the socio-economic group, some people get even more heavily affected during long-term unemployment. So I do hope that there are some state, city measures that actually provide, actually practical training or protection for those who really need our support. Yeah.
Right, so tailored support, practical vocational training, and also when needed, psychological support.
Right.
All right, so that's all from us today, but NewsGen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Cheska Dainha.
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
Thank you, and Yoon Seo.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.